There are a wide variety of offer types that are supported in the commercial marketplace. Many of these are transactable, meaning that they're sold through Microsoft's commerce platform, and customers can actually go through with the billing and payments through Microsoft. And then there's a number of them where we're still working on the ability to transact for them through Microsoft's commercial marketplace. Consulting services, managed services, IoT edge modules and container images, Office add-ins, Dynamics add-ins, and Power Apps are all on our roadmap to be able to transact through Microsoft's commerce platform and through Microsoft's commercial marketplace. The offer types that are transactable today include virtual machines, Azure applications, which are multi-VMs and often including other resources as well, and then SaaS applications, software as a service, standalone software that runs on an ISV's infrastructure or Azure subscription. And we talked a little bit about listings where the call to action is to be contacted, listings where the call to action is to initiate a trial. Both of those happen outside of Microsoft's commercial marketplace. Microsoft is not involved in any payments, collections, terms and conditions in those scenarios, but they are supported on our commercial marketplace. Free offerings are also supported, but again, Microsoft is not collecting any money. There is no payment in that scenario. Bring your own license, where deployment happens, must be done through Azure Marketplace because an Azure subscription needs to be in place already. And the transactable offerings, VM images and Azure applications, which includes managed apps, also happen through Azure Marketplace because they are deployed into directly a customer's Azure subscription. SaaS applications are a little bit more nuanced. A SaaS application, as I mentioned, being defined as standalone software that runs on an ISV's infrastructure, whether that's an Azure subscription, can appear in either Azure Marketplace or Microsoft AppSource, depending on the customer audience, the industry relevance. AppSource, again, being business and industry, Azure Marketplace being IT and developer. And in all of these cases, the solutions need to be built for or on Microsoft's cloud. I want to look a little bit at the billing models as we drill into the VM and Azure applications and SaaS apps as being the transactable offer types. The first thing to mention is that when you publish an offering, you'll define the duration of the contract between the customer and you as an ISV. For virtual machines and Azure applications, it's a monthly contract duration. For SaaS applications, it's either monthly or annual. The billing cycle either follows monthly or annual, or if the customer is on an enterprise agreement, it may be quarterly. Pricing is based on really kind of that offer type. A virtual machine will charge based on consumption per core per hour. You have the option of assigning a price that is either consistent regardless of the VM type or varied based on the VM type, but you assign a price per core per hour and have the option of adding trials that either last 1 month or 3 months, meaning that the first month or the first 3 months are a bill of $0 to the customer for your licenses. In this scenario, the customer is still paying Microsoft for the underlying Azure consumption. They pay Microsoft for Azure. They pay you for the intellectual property running on top of those VMs. And the first month or 3 months for your license costs would be free in the case of that trial. Now, an Azure application is built up by a solution template. We'll talk a lot more about how to design a solution template, how to package this up, but really at a high level, Azure applications are either a solution template that defines VMs and other Azure resources to be deployed within a customer subscription, or a managed application, which is very similar, except that you as the publisher maintain access to update, manage, support that set of resources. For Azure applications, it leverages the underlying VM pricing. So what I mean by that is that the Azure application, the solution template itself, is not assigned a price, but what you can do is create a virtual machine offer, assign a price to that, set it to hidden, and then your solution template deploys that VM. The trials follow accordingly. So in that scenario, an Azure application actually charges a customer based on consumption of the resources that underlie it in the model of the VM image. And the trial also follows that. For both virtual machines and Azure applications, the resources, the software is deployed directly into the customer's Azure subscription, and the customer pays Microsoft for the Azure consumption, and they pay you as the publisher for the software licenses. In addition to using the VM pricing, managed applications specifically can also include a flat rate price for that monthly duration. What this means is that an Azure application that's built and offered as a managed app has a business model like software as a service. You as an ISV maintain access to the resources, you manage, you support them, and you can charge the customer a flat rate. But it's deployed into the customer subscription, and the infrastructure cost is charged back to the customer to pay Microsoft. The last column on this slide, as we look at SaaS offerings, I mentioned that the duration can be either monthly or annual, and then we have a couple of other pricing options. Now again, SaaS, running on the ISV's infrastructure, the Azure subscription, the Azure consumption cost is billed by Microsoft to the ISV, and then billed to the customer for the license cost of your solution. And you can charge either a flat rate per month or per year, you can charge per user, or you can charge based on consumption of custom billing dimensions. Using the metered billing service, you can define the dimensions that you're monetizing, and then via API, you just let Microsoft know how many of those units have been consumed, and Microsoft will bill accordingly. An example of a consumption-based service might be a phone plan. I pay a flat rate for a certain number of talk minutes, text messages, and data consumption. And my flat rate price includes a certain amount of data. But during that month, if I go over that data, I'm then charged based on gigabyte consumed, text message sent, or minute of talk time. So the consumption-based billing is really good for overage scenarios, or you can set the flat rate to 0 and charge based only on consumption of those units. And there are two ways to do trials with a transactable SaaS offering. The first is what we refer to as ISV-led. And this is a variable amount of time. Basically, this is a scenario where you're listing your SaaS offering, and you can configure the trial for as long as you want, for as many units as you want, in whatever scenario you want to enable. It is then up to you to convert that trial into a paid subscription outside of Microsoft's Commerce platform. The second option is to publish a SaaS app that transacts or sells through Microsoft's Commerce platform, and then to add a 1-month free period to the beginning of that. In this scenario, much like a virtual machine that has a free 1-month trial, the first month, the customer gets a bill for $0. And then after that, it automatically converts to a paid subscription for the SaaS solution. If it's monthly, they then automatically convert to the monthly payment cycle and contract period. If it's annual, the first month is free, and then they will pay for a 12-month subscription to your service. When we think about pricing and monetizing your solutions and selling them through Microsoft's commercial marketplace, it's important to think about the marketplace service fee, which is included in the price of your offering. So what I mean by that is that if you price your solution, let's say it's a SaaS application and it's $100 a month, immediately 80% of that revenue, $80, goes directly to you as the publisher, and 20% goes to Microsoft as that marketplace service fee. This is then reinvested in the commercial marketplace development efforts for innovation, for operations, and more importantly, in the marketplace rewards program, so that we can bring you benefits that are worth even more. From July 2019 until the end of June 2020, we're running a SaaS promotional offer where the revenue split, the marketplace service fee, is 90% directly to the publisher and 10% to the seller, Microsoft or a CSP, if you have at least one IP co-sell ready or prioritized offering, and it does not have to be the same as that SaaS offering. Link down at the bottom to learn more about this promotional offer, how the marketplace service fee works, and then that link up at the top is the Microsoft Commercial Marketplace Publisher Agreement. And because Microsoft operates under an agency model where we take the marketplace service fee, it also means that you are not only defining the price for your product at whatever you choose to set it to, but you also define the terms and conditions and define and write the contracts that the customer must accept when they purchase your product. There are really two options for doing this. The first is to leverage the standard contract. This is a set of terms and conditions that Microsoft has written up and created that you can choose to leverage if you wish. The benefits here are that it simplifies procurement for customers as they go into the commercial marketplace, whether they're on Microsoft AppSource or Azure Marketplace or talking to a cloud solution provider or Microsoft sales teams. And every time they're buying new software, they have to review all of the terms and conditions in great detail, as they should. But if you've selected to use the standard contract, they can review that once, have their procurement and legal teams all sign off, and then know that any offering that leverages the standard contract meets their requirements. Now, we know, though, that as a publisher, as a solution provider, you probably want to have some custom terms, some unique aspects to your offering. And so that's why it's possible to add an amendment to the standard contract. The customer can say, my legal team has already signed off on the standard contract. This 80% is fine. I'm just going to focus on that last 20% that shows up as an amendment. And as a publisher, you can choose to either use a universal amendment. I'm choosing the standard contract and also adding in these terms and conditions, or a tenant-specific amendment. That is maybe a unique set of terms and conditions to an individual customer based on negotiations. The other option, though, is if you don't want to use the standard contract at all, you have full flexibility to use custom contract language. In the publishing UI, UX, you simply select no, and then there's a text box where you can enter in your terms of use.